Hey everybody, Everett Abrams, the Wizard of Wood, and today I want to talk to you about something we run into a lot. We actually build decks as well, my contracting company. So I wanted to talk to you about something we run into with pressure treated pine mostly. As it ages, it gets older, and what we see a lot, and the biggest mistake a lot of people make, although it is pushed and from some contractors, painters, and so forth, just to paint the deck when it gets older. You hear that, paint the deck. First of all, we don't use paint. We use a solid stain. Stain meaning permeable, it allows the wood to breathe. Paint does not do that so much. So what happens is, we'll go out to a deck, and this is one we actually took apart. It's a pressure treated pine deck. You can see it's pretty nice underneath still. I mean, it was real good. But the bottom becomes weathered over many years, and this was neglected, obviously. It has a lot of cracks in it and so forth, but a lot of heavy organic growth. So typically what happens is if all these cracks that go along the grain, the wood will, we call it check up. That doesn't mean structurally it's bad. It just as the wood gets older or dries, what happens is you'll get these cracks in the wood. A lot of it's just called checking, okay? That's very common and something that's going to happen with the wood. Now, the idea of this is we don't want to just clean this, or this would take an aggressive clean to get rid of this much mold and mildew, but the wood would come up. It's not quite like this, but similar when you restore it. The problem is people go ahead and they put a solid stain over top of that. And the problem with putting a solid stain on old wood that's cracked is wood is moving all the time. It's expanding and contracting. When we think of a solid stain, solid, not moving, and then we have cracked wood where it's checked up, and if that expands and contracts along those cracks, it'll pop it. And then what happens is you'll see, and this was another deck we did, if you look right along the grain and around the cracks in the wood, that is where the solid stain will pop. So again, they take something that was pretty decent on the pressure treated side, or the side that wasn't. They put a solid stain because it was older, and you can see what happens. And at that point, it's basically the kiss of death. So you talk to people about it and say, hey, you know, they might put another coat on. Hey, most of the time this is what they say. It lasted 6 months, a year, and it started peeling. Well, it's not going to last because it's older, it's checked, it's cracking, it's going to pop that stain. And then what do? You become very frustrated, and you wasted all that money putting a solid stain or time. Maybe you paid a contractor, and now it's a mess. And now you got to do what you're going to do anyway, which is replace it. So you're basically putting a Band-Aid on it that really doesn't last too long. And you would have been better off and better served if you had actually taken this, restored this type to where you didn't put a solid stain on and you still had that nice wood, a decent wood, and you actually put like a semi-transparent or a sealer on there, because they'll move with the wood more. They're not solid. The more opaque you get, the more thick the coating, the more it's going to crack, pop, and peel and become a problem. So it may not look as good using a sealer because it's going to show a lot of the natural stuff, but if you could get a decent clean out of it, maybe possibly put a semi-transparent that will move a little more with the wood, you'd be much better off and well served, even if it was just a Band-Aid to get through a couple of years. And the reason I bring that up too is because a lot of times today when somebody decides the deck's getting old and what am I going to do, they start budgeting and start thinking about composite decking or some of the alternative decking over wood. And when you do that, a lot of people will find, they get a little shocked at the price a lot. It's not just the price of the material, but also the price of the contractor. There's much more involved in it as far as architectural plans, permit fees, sometimes zoning and construction, and so forth. So a lot of extra fees and money in that's involved as well. So a lot of people have to think about a budget and where they're going to go with it. So if you're going to do a Band-Aid or something that's going to last for a few years, solid stain on top of old wood is just not usually a recommendation. If you already had solid stain on it, that's one thing. But if you haven't, not a good idea to put it on old wood. So that's why I did the video, and why the Wizard of Wood came here with this video, is to let you know that putting solid stain on older wood, not a good idea. As wood expands and contracts, it's going to move, pop, peel, and cause you more problems and frustration that you really didn't want to deal with. I'm Everett Abrams, the Wizard of Wood, hoping this video was very helpful to you. If it was helpful, make sure you like it, and I'll see you in the next video.